Hello, everybody. Today we've got the updated U.S. Senate prediction for the month of September. It's been 3 months since I did this, so it's time to take a fresh look. But we're still more than a year out, way too many question marks in way too many states. So there's some tough calls on here. Things are likely to change. Your map is probably going to look a little bit different. I didn't make too many changes from the last video, but the Dems are still looking to pick up 4 seats if they want to flip the chamber. It's pretty tough to do, but let's see where we're at right now. Let's start with the safe states. These would be expected to be over a 10-point margin or otherwise not competitive. We'll start with the Dems, and not too much to say about these. We'll start on the West Coast. It's Oregon. Then further east, we're going to put in Colorado. Then continuing into the Midwest, we've got the open seat in Illinois. Then in the Northeast, it's Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, and finally, Virginia. Some of those, such as Virginia, they're not way into double digits. They're maybe 10 to 11 points. But the Dems either have the incumbency advantage, the GOP has little to no bench, or the expected national environment, which should favor the Dems a little bit or more. That's going to give their candidates an extra boost. Now to the safe states for the Republicans. First, it's Alaska. If it ends up being Dan Sullivan, the incumbent Republican, against Mary Peltola, the potential Democratic challenger, then it would take this down to likely, and it could even get more competitive than that. But given where things are at right now, even with ranked choice voting, I got to keep this safe red. Then it's Idaho, Montana with Steve Daines, Wyoming, South Dakota. Nebraska is more interesting than usual because we're looking at Dan Osborne, the independent candidate, challenging incumbent Republican Pete Ricketts. Now, Osborne seems like a reasonable candidate. The independent label is going to help him out. However, he did just take a loss to Deb Fischer, the other Republican, in 2024. He didn't do terrible, but it was still by a likely margin against a weaker opponent. His polling is bound to show him being extremely competitive, but Pete Ricketts won by 25 points also in November. So I think Osborne could get that down to 15 for sure. And maybe Ricketts does look like he's too wealthy and out of touch, but it's hard to believe that he would do even better against Ricketts than he did against Fischer. We're going to watch this one, but for now, I've got to keep this at safe. After that, we've got Kansas. Without Laura Kelly in there, it's going to stay dark red. Then Oklahoma. Then we've got Arkansas. Louisiana, there could be some trouble there for Bill Cassidy in the primary. And maybe if former Governor John Bel Edwards gets in, this thing could get more interesting. But after that, we've got Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama. Then we've got the special election in Florida. This one is borderline. It could go down to likely. But if the Republicans are going to be able to win a Senate seat here in the blue wave of 18 against an incumbent Democrat, then they should have this seat in the bag. It's a special election. Ashley Moody is the Republican. Dems have a weak bench here. The state has just gotten so red. That's why this is going to be safe. After that, we've got South Carolina. This would be the Lindsey Graham seat. And we got to see what he does in his primary. But he still won by 10 last time. And it's not at all impossible this gets under 10. But for right now, I think it's just a little bit more likely it's going to stay over 10. The last safe state for the GOP is West Virginia. No explanation needed. Now we'll go down to the likely states. These would be between 5 and 10 points or are semi-competitive. First for the Dems, we've got New Mexico. It's a fairly blue state. Republicans are hoping the trends go in their direction in the future. But right now they just have nothing going on. It's going to be high single digits and go likely. Then it's Minnesota. This is an open seat. Right now it looks like a pretty weak bench here for the Republicans. Dems might have to battle it out between Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig in a primary. But regardless of that, I think it's about a mid-single digit margin here for the Dems. One more likely state, it's in the Northeast, it's New Hampshire. This is another open seat. Republicans really were hoping to get their rock star candidate, former Governor Chris Sununu. But without him, they might be looking at Scott Brown. He did almost win a Senate seat here in the past, but I'm not sure how strong of a candidate he would be this time. Meanwhile, it's likely to be Chris Pappas for the Dems. Margin here I think would be similar to Minnesota, probably about 5 to 6 points. Maybe it gets more competitive, maybe not, but at this point in time, with the expected national environment, I do think there's enough here for me to put this at likely. I'll do the likely states for the Republicans. First, it's Texas. This race could have action on both sides. It is the John Cornyn seat, but he is facing a challenge from Ken Paxton, maybe even Wesley Hunt. Meanwhile, the Dems actually might have some kind of a primary battle of their own. So there's different strengths and weaknesses for the candidates. But for right now, I think the fair rating here would be likely for the Republicans. The next state is Iowa. This would be the Joni Ernst seat, and now we know that she's actually not going to run again. I might do a video on that in the future. So a lot of Republicans might be excited. Sometimes Ernst has disappointed the base. Jim Carlin, the Republican, is already in the race. We might be looking at Congresswoman Ashley Hinson getting in as well. It's too early to say what's going to happen here. Dems do have a semi-crowded field. There's a lot of buzz around Nathan Sage, but he's just one of several candidates. There's a chance this race does become compelling, but for the time being, I think there's enough here to keep this over 5 and likely for the Republicans. The last state here, no surprise, it's Ohio. This is a special election. This is the J.D. Vance seat, currently occupied by incumbent Jon Husted. Now we know that Sherrod Brown is actually running for the Dems, but he did just take a loss as an incumbent less than a year ago. He's got some appeal, he's got high name ID, but Jon Husted is pretty establishment. He seems less risky than Bernie Moreno, who already took down Brown in November. Given how much the state has drifted toward the right, including the counties in Northeast Ohio that should have been friendly to Sherrod Brown, it's hard to not put this at likely right now for the Republicans. Maybe it changes, but for now, that's the rating. Now we'll go down to the most competitive states. Lean are under 5%, Tilt or 1% or less. Let's go through them one at a time. But first, let's start in Michigan. This is an open seat. Looks like there's more action on the Dem side now than the Republicans. As of right now, it looks a little bit more likely it would be Haley Stevens. The Republicans, they're again going to put up Mike Rogers, who just barely lost back in November. So just like Sherrod Brown in Ohio, there's pros and cons to running back-to-back races. But given the expected national environment, I think Dems here do have a small advantage. It's nothing substantial, probably just 1, 2, maybe 3 points for right now. But that is enough here to put this at leans for the Dems. Now to the northeast corner, it's Maine. This is the Susan Collins seat. Dems really hoping to take her down. She's got to thread that needle, being a Republican in a blue-leaning state. She can't anger the base too much, and she's also got to get crossover vote. The field is still fluid now for the Dems. The newest entry, Graham Plantner, could be the Dan Osborne of Maine. So we got to see what happens with that. But for right now, it's just too early. I'm not going to change my rating. I'm going to keep it at leans for Collins, the Republican. Now we've got the 2 most competitive states left. Let's start in Georgia. Nothing's going to change here. This is the Jon Ossoff seat. Without Brian Kemp in there, there's going to be several Republicans vying for that nomination. So I think it's just too early to say who it's going to be. But given that it's not going to be Brian Kemp, Jon Ossoff right now is sitting pretty. And that means he's going to maintain his advantage. He's definitely vulnerable. Anything could happen in this state. But my rating here is going to stay the same. It's going to be a tilt for Ossoff. The last state is North Carolina. Now we know that former Governor Roy Cooper has gotten into this race. On the Republican side, it looks like they're putting up former RNC chair Michael Whatley. His name ID right now is just way lower than Roy Cooper's. As expected, the early polling shows Cooper with a lead. Dems have struggled here to win a Senate seat as of the last several elections. This race could easily go either way. We've got to follow it and see what happens. My previous rating was a tilt for the Republicans. Now with the already expected blue-leaning national environment, and with Cooper getting into this race, for me, I think there's about enough here to move this a half a point toward Cooper. It might go back and forth several times over the next year, and some people might totally freak out by this. But for right now, there is enough for me to flip this. It's going to be by a tiny margin, less than a half a point, but it is going to go toward Cooper. He's going to get it with a tilt rating, and that would be a flip and a pickup for the Dems. And so after that, we've got the final map. It's 52 seats for the Republicans, 48 for the Dems. They do get one flip and pickup in North Carolina. They hold on in Georgia. They're close in Maine. If they did get Maine, they would still need 2 more flips to be able to control the Senate. Their best bet would be 2 out of the 3 in Iowa, Ohio, or Texas. After that, it's just too much of a reach. However, anything could happen. Sometimes a safe state comes onto the map and nobody saw it coming. So Dems would need at least another cycle here to actually flip the chamber. Now, from the Republicans' perspective, they've got to really try to hold North Carolina, and they could. Roy Cooper is popular, but he's not governor anymore, and the Senate is a different office. There's no guarantee he's going to be as strong as he thinks, but as of now, it's hard to not think he has at least a slight advantage. And the Republicans are looking to go on offense in Georgia. If they had Brian Kemp, their path would have been a lot easier. Without Kemp, given the trends of this state, they might come up short here again, but that's going to be their best bet for a pickup. After that, Michigan is a state that they almost flipped in 24, so that's going to be in their sights as well. After that, they've got outside targets in Minnesota, New Hampshire, or New Mexico. They're also going to still have to defend Texas, Iowa, and Ohio. So you'd still rather be the Republicans here than the Dems. And I think if the Republicans only lost 1 Senate seat next year, they would still almost view it as a victory. Dems have got to pick up 2 or they're going to think that they came up short. So some close races, lots of question marks about which candidates are still going to get in, who's going to be be the nominee? What are going to be the key issues in a year from now? How's everybody going to run their campaigns? We just don't know. But as of early September, this is my prediction for the U.S. Senate next year. So let me know in the comments. What do you think about this Senate map? Do you think the closest states are going to be North Carolina and Georgia? What's going on with Susan Collins in Maine? Do the Dems have a serious chance in Iowa, Ohio, or Texas? Can the Republicans actually go on offense in Michigan? Let me know what you think down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.